There's been a lot of talk recently about the lack of solo female superhero films in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but what about the lack of color? For every fan that wants to see a Black Widow movie, there's a fan who wants to see a Black Panther movie too, and odds are it's the same fan. So today let's turn our attention to diversity in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the past, the present, and the future. Now, perhaps the biggest and most high-profile contribution the MCU has made to diversity, not just in their movies, but in Marvel Comics in general, is reimagining Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Mark Millar might have originally dreamed it up with his alternate universe The Ultimates run, but it was Kevin Feige and company who made it a reality, and in some ways the spine of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as Jackson is one of the few constants from film to film. And since the Avengers lineup is lily white, his role has only increased over time to add some much-needed diversity to the Avengers, and then Captain America the Winter Soldier, where Jackson had his largest role in the MCU to date. And his version of Nick Fury has been so well received by audiences that he was brought into the 616 as the long-lost son of that universe's Nick Fury, who joins S.H.I.E.L.D. as his father retires. Now, the first Marvel movie, Iron Man, hoped to have even more diversity with Terrence Howard as James Rhodes, aka War Machine, but that only blew up in their faces over contract negotiations for the second film. Don Cheadle was brought in to replace Howard, but as a result, neither actor has really had a chance to connect with audiences as the character. Plus, can War Machine ever really be anything but Iron Man light? He's not even that popular in the comics. In fact, with the exception of Miles Morales, it's been hard for readers and audiences to rally around watered-down versions of their favorite characters who have obviously been created for the sake of diversity, and not much else. And it's for that same reason that Thor's crack at diversity didn't really work out either, as Idris Elba and Tadanobu Asano weren't so much fully realized characters as token Asgardians. Thor also introduced Maximiliano Hernandez as Coulson's fellow S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, but we all know he turned out to be evil and was quickly and easily dealt with. Then again, right after Thor, Derek Luke and Kenneth Choi were squandered in Captain America: The First Avenger. Sure, the comics have fleshed out the Howling Commandos, but it's unlikely the MCU will travel back in time to do them justice. Then, encouragingly, Damien Poitier, no relation to Sydney, did the motion capture and voice for Thanos at the end of the Avengers, but he's been replaced by Josh Brolin. This is looking so bad, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Iron Man 3 infamously reimagined Guy Pearce as the Mandarin, with Ben Kingsley a mere puppet, and some would say joke. There is speculation that because Marvel Studios was so eager for the film to perform in China, they decided not to risk offending Asian audiences with an Asian villain. Yet how upset could the region really be if they could lay claim to one of the greatest movie villains of all time? Although, with Marvel's track record with villains, that's unlikely. Speaking of villains, Miguel Ferrer as Vice President Rodriguez also turned out to be evil. But Thor: The Dark World did give Elba a little more to do, or at least say, while Adewale Akinnayo got to make the ultimate sacrifice for his leader and his people by turning into a faceless, voiceless, and thoughtless henchman. Benicio del Toro showed up in the after-credit sequence, though, as the Collector, as we finally begin to make some genuine progress with diversity in the MCU. Not only did Captain America the Winter Soldier give Nick Fury a larger role, but it introduced Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. Finally, Wilson came across as Steve Rogers' partner, or at least potential partner, and the character was nicely fleshed out with his veteran storyline. So much so that rumors are swirling he could be the one to take over for Cap, not Bucky, in the upcoming Captain America 3 in 2016. Wilson has wielded the shield before in the comics and will again in a much publicized turn of events. It's all that attention which has fans guessing and hoping it's to lay the groundwork for Mackie to take over the role, as Chris Evans has made it clear he's not in this for the long haul. Then while Guardians of the Galaxy might have decided to go with every color but their cast's natural color, it's still progress, right? Zoe Saldana and Dave Bautista are painted green, while Vin Diesel voices a tree. Djimon Hounsou appears largely unaltered, but his role is pretty darn small, and he's evil. As for Marvel's upcoming films, unfortunately Michael Pena was written out of Ant-Man, but we do know that Don Cheadle will at least make a cameo in Avengers: Age of Ultron. However, Vin Diesel has also hinted in a tweet that he might be playing Inhuman King Black Bolt, who because of his powers can't speak. Things are looking a little better on the small screen, where Ming-Na Wen is one of the main characters in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Also, Chloe Bennett as computer hacker Skye is half Asian, and Ruth Negga as Reyna is half black. But J. August Richards' Deathlock has proven popular enough that he'll be joining the Avengers in the comics. Things get really exciting over on Netflix, though, where Luke Cage will be getting his own live-action series before crossover event The Defenders, which again, all takes place on Netflix, which is pretty hot right now. Not only is Cage a hero in his own right instead of a spin-off of a white character, but hailing from Harlem, he's heavily involved in his community. He is also one half of an interracial romance with superhero-turned-private investigator Jessica Jones, who is also getting her own Netflix series. Comic book readers have responded very positively to Cage and Jones's romance and eventual marriage and baby, as has been one of the more realistic depictions of superhero relationships. If Netflix can also do them justice, they could become fan favorites with that audience as well. And of course, everyone is hopeful that a Black Panther movie is in the works, or at least being considered. Chadwick Boseman is the latest actor that rumors have linked to the role, or is that just wishful thinking? Because while Black Panther did appear in Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, so did Janet Van Dyne, and we all know how that turned out. So how do you feel Marvel is handling diversity in the MCU? Would you call this slow and steady or glacial? Write your thoughts down below. I'm Grace Randolph, and this has been a Movie Bite. You can watch more right now.